The end of another long week is here. That means it's time for the Left of Lansing Friday Short with Pat Johnston.
Here's the Friday Short for May 1st of 2026, and forgive my voice, I'm just recovering from a cold. Just before the election in 2024, I followed the race for Michigan's 8th Congressional District, which covers Bay City, Midland, Flint, and Saginaw. It's literally a purple district, and Democrat Kristen McDonald-Rivet ran a race in which she was on TV a lot, talking about helping the working class, cutting taxes for working families, and promising to hold corporations accountable by paying their fair share. And if you recall, McDonald-Rivet had that popular beer ad where she talked about loving the Lions, hating Ohio, and that she always believed that politicians are full of it, as a way to show that, she was just one of us. McDonald-Rivet's campaign also aired an ad touting how she was pulling in Trump voters, which was interesting in that I didn't see her campaign cozying up to the Kamala Harris campaign at all. I'll get back to that. It was an interesting weave that McDonald-Rivet decided to run her campaign, and she won by 7 points over MAGA Republican Paul Young, who had name recognition in that area as well. Sure, McDonald-Rivet was a state senator in the area, and that got her some name recognition, but she wasn't facing an unknown. And she won by an impressive 7-point margin in that district where Trump won by 2%. So good on her and her campaign, but by running as this so-called moderate, McDonald-Rivet trapped herself into believing that she had to vote a certain way rather than really voting to improve the lives of all of her constituents. For example, one of Kristen McDonald-Rivet's first votes as a congresswoman was to pass the Lake and Riley Act, a law that essentially gave the Trump regime the green light to begin terrorizing citizens and undocumented workers in American streets. She was one of only 46 Democrats to vote with MAGA Republicans and dear leader Trump on that bill. And she defended her vote by saying, if you violate our laws, particularly with violent crimes, then there should be a deportation hearing. Well, nobody disagreed with that. That wasn't the issue. And besides, that whole defense made her sound a little bit more like MAGA there, didn't it? Of course, worrying about the rule of law or due process didn't seem to concern McDonald-Rivet or our Democratic senators, Gary Peters and Alyssa Slotkin, who also voted for that bill. McDonald-Rivet also voted last year in favor of a bill to congratulate the work that ICE was performing in America's streets. Haley Stevens, by the way, who's running for the Democratic Party establishment choice for the U.S. Senate seat, also voted for that resolution. Just saying. Now, fast forward to this week. McDonald-Rivet was one of 42 House Democrats who voted in favor with MAGA Republicans to give the Trump regime warrantless surveillance powers. Now, progressive Michigan Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib from Detroit rightly called this bill a dangerous mass surveillance tool that's been used to spy on Black Lives Matter protests, members of Congress, journalists, and more. And as usual, Rashida Tlaib is correct. Hajar Hamadou, a senior policy advisor at Demand Progress, told Common Dreams, quote, these Democrats who voted for the bill defied their constituents and common sense to undercut meaningful privacy reforms in the House and instead voted to hand over sweeping spy powers to the Trump administration. And that's right. I mean, where's the common sense in giving the Trump regime more powers to spy on American people? Where? Is that what the people of Kristen McDonald-Rivet's district really wanted? I mean, hell, even the Trump water boy in the Lansing area, MAGA Republican Congressman Tom Barrett, even he voted against this wretched bill. And then there's the Farm Bill, which essentially kept all the previous cutting of the food stamp programs from the so-called Big Beautiful Bill intact, but Kristen McDonald-Rivet was one of the few Democrats to vote for it. Now, she did get an amendment allowing those who can still qualify for food assistance to buy rotisserie chicken, which, is something. I'm not saying it's not, but it doesn't erase everything else that I've talked about. But even worse, Kristen McDonald-Rivet released a statement right after the recent Michigan Democratic primary convention where her sister, Oakland County Prosecutor Karen McDonald, suffered a stunning defeat as delegates voted in favor of progressive Washtenaw County Prosecutor Ellie Savitt to be the party's Attorney General nominee. Now, of course, there were other stinging defeats at that convention, and delegates chose to boo politicians who either support Israel's genocidal government and then accepts AIPAC money to show their support for that genocide. I think it was pretty good to see people showing their disdain for such a stance. But McDonald-Rivet released a statement saying what she witnessed at that convention was a troubling step in the wrong direction, while she also criticized the party's choice to oust oust a sitting University of Michigan Board of Regents member who was just discovered as having sexually explicit text messages pertaining to fellow Democrats and also on a pro-Palestinian student protester at U of M. It's just weird to hear some of these establishment Democrats be all upset about that race. But to prove her point that progressives are ruining the party, McDonald-Rivet said in that same statement, "But don't take it from me, take it from MAGA electeds and strategists who cheered on what they saw because they know it makes their jobs easier." And yeah, there you have it. Kristen McDonald-Rivet is more worried about Michigan's MAGA Republicans and their feelings than she is about the feelings of working-class Michiganders who are suffering during these days of the Trump regime. She's always running in fear of Republicans. And let's also admit, she's upset that her sister lost the AG nomination, which showed me just how privileged some of these party insiders and families truly can be. They believe these are their positions. How dare outsiders come in and decide the direction of this party? Kristen McDonald-Rivet ran campaign ads, as I said, touting how Trump Republicans would vote for her, and yet she fails to reach out to working-class voters who said they just wanted someone standing up for them, and not for corporate authoritarianism or corruption or overseas wars. If you're on the wrong side of that issue, then you're not taking the moderate stance. Actually, it's extreme. Kristen McDonald-Rivet says she's all about finding common ground. But how do you find common ground with the Trump regime, whose polling numbers are in the trash as it continues to destroy the American economy and the American way of life? I mean, there's nothing America first about giving the Trump regime more surveillance powers or backing more funding for Israel over the American working class. Kristen McDonald-Rivet is not acting like a moderate, whatever that is. She's the one taking extreme positions to further erode the American working class. She won't have the guts to stand up for the working class because she's too afraid of what MAGA Republicans will think. And as we saw at the Michigan Democratic Convention, the working class has had enough of that. leftoflansing@gmail.com is the best way to reach me. Follow me on the socials, subscribe to the show on the YouTube, and subscribe and give a good 5-star review of Michigan's premier progressive podcast. Also visit us on patreon.com/leftoflansing and consider a small donation to the show. Go Tigers and take the battle to them.